All right, hey everybody, welcome to Crown Council Live. I am Stuart Anderson. Grateful to be with you today. We've got a show with a few guests, some great education, and checking in with the Crown Council membership. As you know, this is our weekly show where we connect with the Crown Council teams, doctors, resource partners, live events, humanitarian trips, online training, everything that you get as part of the Crown Council membership, we try to cover and give you a reminder about each week for an hour. Our goal is to connect with our community and remind you that you do not practice alone. So we're grateful to be with you for this hour, whether you're watching live or you're watching recorded. Thank you for being with us. We look forward to sharing a few things with you today. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hopefully you'll see my crowncouncil.com webpage. We have started to book and create our annual event program. We're so excited to be in Nashville in 2027. Our goal is to get every Crown Council office to join us. If you've been or haven't been, someone representing you and your office at the Crown Council annual event. All of the information will be posted here. Speakers, our entertainment, registration, information on how to book your hotel at the beautiful Omni Resort in downtown Nashville. We're going to have our Thursday night concert with some of the stars of Nashville, benefiting both Smiles for Life and the W.O. Smith School of Music. We've done that in the past, and we really look forward. Dr. Dennis Wells and his team are helping us create an incredible event Thursday night. So we want every Crown Council office represented at the annual event. We would love to have you there. We are here to answer any questions you've got about travel or any questions that you've got about being with us if you've never been. I'm going to share real quick a really fun testimony that we have from Dr. Catherine McGalloway. This is just a little minute and a half video clip of her at the Frisco annual event talking about her experience. So let me just share this real quick.
My name is Catherine McGalloway. I've been practicing for coming on 30 years, and I've been to Crown Council probably 28 years. Hi. I always think being part of the Crown Council means gathering together with like-minded people, people who are looking at the future, looking at opportunities to grow in soft skills, in communication skills, and achieving the best practice possible. Dentists are in little pods in society typically, and so in Crown Council you come together and actually share your secrets and share your best practices, and it allows for collaboration without being threatened by competition. I think all the foundational values that I have come from my family and from Crown Council, because I've been coming since I was a young dentist and growing in different aspects. It's always nice at the beginning of the year to have the event because it refocuses you on the coming year, and you can launch into a new year, new goals, and ways to continue to grow year after year. And I think when you've been a dentist for 30 years, each year you need that inspiration to do something again and get kind of active again, and that's what Crown Council event does. We never miss it. Motivating. Just do it.
Oh, it's a little jumpy. Sorry. Let's just start it right here. That's okay. All right, her last little testimony, don't miss it. So sorry that video was a little jumpy. Hopefully you got to see the or hear the audio of Dr. McGalloway. Her team is always well represented. They always join us year after year. So hopefully you can join us. Now's the best time to sign up. We do month-to-month payments to belong to the annual event if it's something that you want to pay over time. Very easy to do. So call us or go to crowncouncil.com, click on that annual event link, and be with us at the annual event in Nashville. All right, Steve recently did a webinar. This is just yesterday or 2 days ago with Rectangle Health. The webinar is called Stop Cancellations. We're going to play it. We were gonna do it again today, but the webinar was so well received by Rectangle Health, who was the host. We're grateful for Rectangle Health as our resource partner, as the host of this program. So we're going to share a little bit about Rectangle Health, and Steve talks about them and how they integrate into the Stop Cancellations webinar. So I'm going to play this webinar for the remainder of the Crown Council Live today. A lot of great information, takeaways from Steve that hopefully you can put into action and in your practice. we'll connect as soon as it's over, and we'll kind of review and talk about a few things. But I'm going to play this recorded webinar with Steve, and hopefully you can take a lot away from it. Here we go.
Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because we are going to go through a lot of ideas, techniques, and systems today that will make a huge, huge difference in your appointment, filling up your schedule, and having an overall a successful day. Let me just go through a few disclosures so that you know from whence I come. As Derek mentioned, I am the founder of the Total Patient Service Institute. Our team of coaches and practice educators specialize in one word, and that is the word yes. If you want to hear yes more often from your patients, a yes to the appointment, a yes to treatment, a yes to financial arrangements, a yes to showing up, that is what we do. That is our secret sauce. And today we're going to talk about getting a yes to the appointment and making sure that yes sticks so that they come up and they show up when they're supposed to. Additionally, I'm the co-founder of the Crown Council, which is a community of practices nationwide that are committed to creating a culture of success in their practice, the right kind of culture for their team, the right kind of culture for their patients. So we work with thousands of practices on a weekly basis all over the country to instill and implement the highest level of patient service across both of our brands into dentistry. Now, I know that on today's webinar, there's all different disciplines in healthcare, and this is all about the patient today. So I'm going to apply this as broadly as I can. I make some specific references to dentistry when it's appropriate, and all of healthcare in general. Before we get started, here is a resource that you're welcome to scan this and download it. And Derek, I think you can put the link in the chat area if you would like. So you're welcome to download this hack sheet that outlines some of the most important ideas that we will discuss today so that you can implement those with your team. That's our biggest objective is implementation and making this work in your practice. Okay, thank you for that, Derek. Alicia was our first one to weigh in on our first question. So thank you, Alicia, for that. So what word best describes your feeling when it comes to dealing with cancellations and no-shows? So I see frustration, unpredictable. In the chat area, you can put your favorite word in here that describes your feeling about dealing with cancellations and no-shows. There's another: frustrated from Shavoisia, concerned, another frustration, annoyed, what am I doing wrong? I think frustration's coming up a lot here. Irritated, thank you, Rhonda. Worried, sad. Cheryl, I love this. I'm so sad they aren't coming in. Okay, love these words. So when it comes to cancellations and no-shows, not real positive emotions. And we're going to change that today to look at all the things that can be done to keep a schedule and retain the schedule the way it was originally built. I think you can relate to this picture. A lot of times in healthcare, the schedule ends up looking like this, and we'll talk about the biggest contributors to that and the things that you can do, the factors that you do control. You can't control your patients, but you can control what you do so that you have a schedule that stays on track. All right, we've got our first poll question to kick us off. All right, so Derek, you're going to put this up in the poll area. And the
Absolutely.
question
Thank
is,
you. Go ahead, Steve.
which profession has no problems with cancellations? You get one choice: the proctologist, the hair salon stylist, the dog groomer, or the mortician. Which professional in your community has
Cheryl.
no problems with cancellations? Everybody gets to vote. Except for me, I can't vote. Derek, you can't vote. Everybody else.
I can't vote, but I'm very much.
Oh, you
looking
can
forward to
vote?
seeing-
Okay, go for it.
Oh, no, I can't, but I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone has to say here because this is
Okay.
very interesting.
All right, weigh in
so-
on this. Your CE credit for today depends on it.
That's right. I'm going to give you guys just a couple more seconds here, and I'm going to end the poll and share with Steve. So here's the results, Steve.
I think the mortician won it, followed by the hair salon stylist. I think you're right. Perfect. Okay, so take the mortician out of it. I put that one in there as a joke. Ladies, those of you that are listening, I think you would agree that when it comes to whoever your hairstylist is, if you cancel or no-show, they make you pay. Not necessarily in dollars as much as pain and suffering. They will make you wait for your next appointment. They will make you suffer. Now, I realize that in healthcare, the dynamics may be a little different than when you go to the hair salon. And there are some things that we can learn from other professions that'll help us keep the practice on track. Here's a couple of rules and reminders. Number one, patients do not come trained. In other words, you can't expect them to do things the way you want them done unless you've trained your patients. It's been now, 6 years since COVID, 5 to 6 years. And there were a lot of habits that crept in during that time that have remained with us. Those are long COVID, bad patient habits. So today more than ever, you have to train your patients so that they understand how you do things in your practice. You teach people how to treat you. Keep that in mind, because everything that we're going to add to the equation today is all about training your patients and keeping things on track. So today, who's at risk? Who's at risk for canceling or no-showing? Certainly new patients, because they're anonymous. They don't know you, you don't know them. If you bumped into them at the grocery store, you wouldn't even recognize each other. So they're high risk because they're more anonymous. We'll take care of those folks here in just a minute. In dentistry, hygiene patients. So this is any kind of a patient in healthcare or in general that's coming back for routine care, continual routine care. In dentistry, a lot of times the attitude as well is just a cleaning, as if it weren't important. So in healthcare, if you have any type of regular, routine, repeat patient, then what's at risk is the patient feeling like, well, just more of the same. It's not a big deal if I miss. We'll take care of that. Financial flu patients. These are patients that are going to pay on the date of service. So if you're going to do a major procedure and they're going to have to pay their portion on the day of service, they're at risk of getting sick on the day of service. That financial flu because they don't want to pay. We'll address that today. So pretty much every patient on your schedule today is at risk. We're going to talk about two areas today. We're going to talk about prevention, what you can do to prevent cancellations and no-shows. And then we'll talk about first aid. In the heat of the moment, what do you do to try and salvage an appointment that is going to cancel or no show. 80% of what we'll talk about today is in the prevention area. All the things you can do to build and maintain a solid schedule. This is a team effort. And for those of you that are listening today and watching that work in the front office, you'll be delighted to know that there is going to be a responsibility here for almost every member of the team. This is a team effort. It's not just all on the scheduler. We'll have an assignment for everyone. Next rule. Patients place as much importance on their appointment as you do, or conversely, patients rarely place more importance on the appointment as you do. No big deal to you, no big deal to them, and we'll show you how this plays. Finally, keep score. I'm gonna challenge you to keep score on appointments that you save that were potentially cancellations. Have some fun with this. Make it a game, because it is a game. The better your skill, the better results. Okay, next poll, Derek. Let's put this up. One of the best cancellation prevention techniques, we're going to talk about new patients for starters. For new patients is, number one, charge a fee for canceling. That should be a fee, not a few. Charge a fee for canceling. Double book, just in case they don't show up. A doctor welcome call, or text, email, and call repeatedly. So which one of those would you say is the best cancellation prevention technique for new patients? A fee, double book, doctor welcome call, or text, email, and call repeatedly. All right, let's see how everybody voted here.
That's right. Let's see how we do. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds to get in there, and we'll share the results with Steve. All right, Steve, take a look.
There we go. Okay, we have 53% doctor welcome call, followed by 21% charge of fee. We'll talk about that. Then text and email repeatedly. All right, so excellent response. Let's talk about number one. You're spot on. So this is one of the most proven systems for new patients, is a doctor welcome call before the patient arrives for their first visit. So here's how this works. Here's the protocol. Print out tomorrow's schedule, or have it highlighted in some way, shape, or form. Highlight the new patients, hand it to the doctor in the morning, preferably at your morning meeting. And then the doctor during the day will call the new patients coming in for tomorrow. I'll show you how to do that. And then reports back the next morning in that morning's meeting that all the new patients were called. Here is what we recommend. So there's a lot of different ways to do this today. But for example, if I were the doctor, I could call or I could leave a message. We have a lot of practices today. They're even doing this with a video that they record and then they text to the patient. But it would sound something like this. If I were the patient, you would say, Mr. Anderson, this is Dr. Jones. I'm looking forward to meeting you during your appointment tomorrow at 3 o'clock in our office. Just wanted to let you know that we'll have everything set up and ready to go for you. If there's anything I should know before you come in that would make your visit more comfortable, please give us our office a call at this number. Otherwise, we look forward to meeting you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We'll see you then. Now, what's the underlying message? The underlying message is the doctor knows where you live, right? In other words, you're not anonymous. You're not just another chart or another number. This is a high-touch, personalized communication to the new patient. Now, depending on what your new patient flow is per day, in your office. You can manage this accordingly. But for most practices, you might have 2 or 3 new patients a day. If it's a different environment where there's a huge volume of new patients every day, this can be adapted. But the point is, this message comes from the authority figure. So yes, the team's going to keep doing what they do to make sure the patient shows up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a high-touch, personalized message that can go out in a number of different ways. But the important part, and we'll talk about the importance of names here today as well. But yeah, you use my name. Now, there are all kinds of AI applications that can be used for this as well. You can send a personalized video. You can record it once and it'll insert the patient's names. I could spend a whole hour talking about all the different iterations of how to make this work today. But the point is, the more personalized, the more direct to the patient, your new patient show rate will dramatically go up because they've had a personal touch from the doctor. So that's action item number 1, doctor welcome call for new patients. Text would work as well. I'm just looking at the messages here in the chat area. But again, the more personalized, the more direct, the more it comes from the doctor, the better. Second responsibility from the doctor is to communicate the urgency and importance of every appointment in the practice. So for example, if I'm with a new patient and I'm the doctor, and this patient is going to be coming back for an appointment or multiple appointments for treatment, I want to impress on that patient from me, from the authority figure, the importance of those appointment times. So it would sound like this. You would say to me, Steve, we want to do everything we can to help you get the outcome that you want. Now, we're committed to helping you move through the treatment in a timely and comfortable way. And in order to do that, now here's 4 of the most powerful words I know. In order to do that, Steve, I need your help. Most people cannot resist the request for help. I love those 4 words. I need your help. I would train everybody on the team to use those words because they work. I need your help. In order to help you get everything you want, we need to make sure that your appointments are set at times when you have the least likelihood of any type of delay or interruption in your schedule so that nothing stands in the way of doing what we've talked about today. Does that make sense? I'm going to ask a question to get the commitment, right? In other words, I'm impressing on the patient the importance of those appointment times. So if you'll work with Susan, our appointment coordinator, we will both be committed. You and I will be committed to this schedule that the 2 of you put together so we make sure everything happens as planned. Fair enough? In other words, what I'm saying in a nice way is we're going to put a plan together, and that plan is dependent on these appointment times. We're committed once that's put in place, and you're committed to staying on track with those appointment times. So that expression from the doctor, the authority figure, then impresses on the patient that this is not a plug and play, come and go as you please, do whatever you want. When we schedule appointments, then they matter. So that's the doctor's responsibility with new patients, with patients that are going to schedule for treatment or repeated visits, just that reinforcement of the appointment times. Okay, next area of responsibility. I'm going to take this to the team. So if you have patients that come back on a regular basis for continuing care, checkups, things, even appointments that may or may not involve the doctor, then I'll give you an example from dentistry. Let's talk about in dentistry with the hygienist, because patients come back twice a year, sometimes 4 times a year for their regular hygiene visit. Many times the attitude can be, well, it's just a cleaning. We're going to change that so that the importance of that appointment goes way up in their mind. So here's the recommended chair-side conversation. What you would say to me in this specific situation is you'd say, Steve, congratulations on the great work you're doing at home. Or, Steve, here's what we found today that needs some work. And the best insurance policy you have to stay on track is to do your home care every day without fail. And this is the key part, make sure that nothing stands in the way of our regularly scheduled appointments. Okay, again, I'm impressing on the patient the importance of those appointment times. Now, I want you to know that when we have an appointment scheduled together, I have that time reserved especially for you on my schedule, and I work very, very hard to make sure that nothing gets in the way of that. So if I could make a suggestion, do for yourself what we're doing for you here in the office. Make sure to put that appointment time on your calendar, protect it. That way, if a potential conflict comes up, you can tell them that you have a prior commitment. And Steve, that commitment is to you and your health. Does that make sense? Now, this is a little bit of psychology called priming. In other words, I'm giving them a snapshot of a future potential conflict, saying, if in the event something comes up, you can tell them you got a commitment, and that commitment is you, your health, and your future. One of the most important things that you can do. Again, so I'm impressing on the patient the importance of that appointment time. So wherever that fits in your environment for continuing care patients, where regular visits are part of that, this becomes an essential part of the conversation. Now, depending on how you set up appointments in your practice, if you have a scheduler, right, if you have somebody who manages the schedule, here's what you don't want to have happen. What I don't want to have happen is you say to me, all right, so Steve, when you check out, the ladies will help you get your next visit set up. Wrong way. Because I've lost the connection and that sense of urgency with the patient. So conversely, what I want in every healthcare environment, I want a relationship link. I want a relationship link from the practitioner or the team, the clinical team, to the scheduling team. So that relationship link includes the planned and agreed upon treatment, the patient, what matters most to the patient, that's what we call the M&M, whatever the patient concerns might be or potential obstacles, and then finish with this phrase, what have I missed that we need to discuss before we move ahead and get you scheduled? So it would sound like this. If I've been working with the clinical team, you would walk with me up front. And again, you may say, well, Steve, we don't have time for that. We got to go on to the next patient. You're going to make the time up when this patient cancels or no-shows. So depending on how many cancellations and no-shows you have, if you want a different result, you got to be willing to do things differently. So you walk with the patient up to your scheduler, and you would say, if Susan were my scheduler, I would say, Susan, this is Steve Anderson. We've had a great visit today. His treatment is all planned out. And if you want to point to the treatment, if you're in an area where there's patients can overhear, if not, say, here's the treatment that we have that Steve's agreed to that we need to get scheduled. This is critically important to him, especially the timing, because he's got a busy schedule. He travels a lot. So we got to get this dialed in so he can depend on it and we can too. So if you'll work with him to get this scheduled in the next 2 weeks or month or whatever it is, that way we'll both have a plan that we can count on. And then you turn to me and you'd say, all right, Steve, What have I missed that we need to talk about in terms of the treatment, concerns that you have before Susan works with you on the schedule and the final details? What have I missed? So that one piece, that relationship link of communicating the importance with the next member of the team, maintains the relationship with the patient, keeps the continuity, and impresses on them the importance of what we're going to do next. Now, I could break this down. There's so many important parts of this, but those are the key important ingredients to make it work. If you want a higher show rate, you got to have a better relationship with your patients. This is not about getting them to be compliant. This is about building the kind of relationship of respect with your patients so they want to do the right thing. It starts with building that relationship. All right, hacks. These are scheduling hacks. I'm going to go through these real quick. So these are things you can do on the preparation front. Simple things that when you add all these up, they make a big difference in keeping the schedule put together. Hack number 1, manage your schedule so your schedule doesn't manage you. So for example, I would never say to a patient, you would never say to me, so Mr. Anderson, when would you like to come back, right? Or what works best for you? Because it leaves it way too wide open. You manage the schedule. So the correct verbal skill is, for starters, Steve, which day of the week, Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, whatever you have available, which day of the week do you have the most control over, where you have the least likelihood of any type of an interruption in your schedule where we could schedule this appointment? In other words, again, I'm impressing on the patient the importance of this appointment time by way of how I present it. Which day of the week do you have the most control over, where you have the least likelihood of any type of interruption in your schedule so we can keep this on track? How you present it, right? So then the next piece, if you are using a handwritten appointment card, hand it to the patient and let them fill it out. There's all kinds of psychology to this, but let them fill it out in their own handwriting. Many times today, people are scheduling that appointment on their phone, which is great. In case you're using an appointment card, let them fill it out. Don't fill it out for them. Next, what do you have on that card? If you have appointment cards or you're sending out digital, a digital appointment reminder at the time they schedule, this is the recommended version. If this is going out the day of, so I just scheduled, I get a digital acknowledgement that this appointment has been scheduled. It's going to say, please mark this important appointment on your calendar today. We look forward to seeing you at this time that has been reserved especially for you. Now, we'll talk about charging a fee for cancellations. What I would suggest is that when a patient schedules an appointment and the first thing that you mention in your message is that if they cancel or no-show within a specific window, there's a fee attached, you've just communicated that it's okay to cancel that appointment. So be very careful what you communicate and at what points. Next question. You would ask me, yes.
I just wanted to make you aware we have a couple of attendees that have mentioned a little bit of an echo on your end. So I just wanted to flag that in case you see any kind of solution, but sorry about the echoing attendees. I'll let you continue.
I'll mute and unmute. Okay, not sure if that makes a difference, but okay. Next question for the patient is, which method of communication do you prefer? We have gotten today so over messaged that we don't even ask the patient anymore. They get phone calls, they get text messages, they get emails, and they get bombarded to the point where they don't pay attention to anything. So our preference is ask them if they have a preferred method of communication, phone, text, or email. And with most digital patient communication systems, you can define how they hear from you by phone, by text, or email, and customize it accordingly. And then I'm going to say, Steve, as a courtesy, we'll be sending you periodic messages before your appointment. Will that work for you? Now, you're going to notice that there are some words that get commonly used in this area that I am not using. See if you can pick up on what they are, because they're coming up next. So as a courtesy, we'll send you periodic messages before your appointment. Will that work? Now, here's an example of a text message. Steve, your appointment's at 9:30 a.m. on Monday, September 14th. We're looking forward to seeing you then. Respond Y for yes. Especially that last line, respond Y for yes. If you want a response from the patient, then give them a way to respond. My preference, you can use, most digital systems today have user-defined ways, so respond Y for yes, that they got the message. And you're right, Cheryl, I didn't give them a chance to say no, because we're all about yes. So respond Y for yes. Now, here's one tip that makes a huge difference. Always, 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 in your digital messaging to your patients, use their first name. Don't just send a message without their name. Always use their name. In studies that have been done in this area, they found that there's a 57% reduction in cancellations when you use the patient's first name. Last names did not seem to make a difference. First names made a difference. So if you're sending out text messages that simply say, you have an appointment on this day at this time, what I'd recommend is that the message say, Steve, comma, you have an appointment on this day and this time. Use their name. Big difference in responses and behaviors when you use the patient's name. Hack number 2, plan ahead. This is one of my favorite things that several practices innovated, which is it's just checking in with your patients on a regular basis. So for example, if you have continuing care as part of your practice, where patients come back for repeated visits, it's a great idea just to check in with them from time to time. Not to talk with them as much as send them a message, send them a text. This is what we call excitement calls, where you send me a text or maybe a recorded message that says, hey, Steve, this is Melissa, your esthetician, or this is Susan, your hygienist, or whoever it might be. Just wanted you to know that we're making some exciting innovations in our practice, and I can't wait to share with you something that we're now adding to our treatment protocol where we're getting amazing results. I'll look forward to talking to you about that when you come. In other words, staying connected with them so that it's not just about that appointment time, but they know that you're on their radar. Hack number 3, the unexpected will always happen. You know this. As long as there are humans, there will be the unexpected. So always, always, always have your ASAP list. Continually build this. Your ASAP list is previous cancellations or no-shows, patients that didn't come in, patients that maybe have delayed treatment, maybe they're overdue for their continuing care, whatever that might be, or they have unscheduled treatment. So these can be great opportunities for last-minute changes in the schedule where you can reach out to them. And the most effective way we found is by text message that would say, Steve, we have an appointment time available tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Would this work for you? Right? You may have to add a little bit more detail, but text messages to this day, 96% of text messages get a response within 3 minutes. right? So this can be one of the most effective ways with your ASAP list to then fill those appointment times that become available at the last minute. Hack number 4 is block in advance. So we're huge fans of block scheduling. So you block your schedule based on types of procedures. Most of the practices we work with will block the bulk of their production in the morning, with then the lesser productive things in the afternoon, like consults and dentistry, seats, whatever it might be, but block in advance so that you have a template for a productive schedule every day. That's common sense, not always commonly practiced. Hack number 5, give patients a choice, not a chance, right? So instead of saying, Steve, when would you like to come in? I would say, Steve, which works better for you, Monday or Wednesday? Great. Wednesday, morning or afternoon? Great. Morning, 10 o'clock or 11:30. In other words, I'll give a choice based on what is available on the schedule, right? Don't give me a chance. Don't tell me what I can't do. Say, no, we can't get you in, right? I'm going to give them a choice of what's available on my block schedule for those types of procedures. All right, so this is a quick question from, I think, New. Is that the way you say that? For the ASAP list, do you send the text out for one patient per open slot, or mass message to see who answers first to take the slot? Or do you message one at a time and give them a certain amount of time to respond? I would say yes to all 3, New. In other words, depending on what the appointment time is. So for example, if it's a continuing care appointment where it applies to a lot of people, then yeah, you could send out a mass message that says, hey, there's an appointment available today at 9:30. Shoot us a text right away if that's something you can make work in your schedule. Now, if it's for a bigger block and it's for a specific type of treatment, that may be more individualized to match the patient up with the available appointment time. So it depends on the type of treatment. Now, speaking of that, I would just say we abide by the 24-hour rule, which is we abide by the block schedule up until 24 hours before the appointment time. So we honor those blocks because that's what creates a productive schedule. Once we get within that 24-hour window, then we may need to mix or match to make the schedule work. So we've got something on the schedule rather than nothing at all. Okay, hack number 7 is a poll question. So Derek, let's put this one up. Which words should you never use verbally or in writing when it comes to cancellations? So the choices are the word confirm, the word remind, the word cancel, or all of the above. So confirm, remind, cancel, or all of the above. Which ones should you never, ever use in writing or verbally?
We're getting a lot of answers in. I'll give everyone just a couple more seconds and we'll share the results with Steve. Oh, that's great, Christine. Great to hear. All right. Let's share these results, Steve.
Okay, I think we got 50% said all of the above, followed by 43% cancel and 7% remind. Nobody said confirm. Okay, so here's the answer, as I get this question a lot. Confirm or not confirm? You know, should we confirm appointments, not confirm appointments? So I'm going to give you this. This is a word challenge because words matter. To eliminate from your vocabulary the words confirm and remind, and the word cancellation because you're planting the seed in their mind. right? In other words, if I'm calling or messaging you to confirm your appointment. So if you send me a message and said, "Hey Steve, I'm just messaging you to confirm your appointment," that's an invitation to cancel because you've just said it's not firm. So it gives me a way out. If you're calling to remind me or messaging me to remind you, just reminding you of your appointment, then the underlying message is, "Oh, if you forgot, here's a way out." So instead, again, recraft your messages. This is my preference. "Steve, your appointment is at 9:30 on Monday, September 14th. We'll see you then. Respond Y for yes." Again, I'm not saying remind. I'm not saying confirm. I'm not saying if you need to cancel or change your appointment. It's a statement of fact. So I'm being consistent all the way through my patient communication. Urgency on the front end to schedule it and honor it. And then all the messaging is consistent with that to say, "Yeah, we're planning on you being here. We'll see you then." Not reminding, not confirming, not even planting the seed of a cancellation. Now, things happen, right? Life happens. I get that. What I'm trying to do is minimize the exceptions. All right, hack number 8, the most powerful words for patient commitment and compliance. Now, I'm going to ask for your total undivided attention here. This one may be outside your comfort zone, and it works. There are 2 words that we know that work when it comes to scheduling an appointment. So it would sound like this. Just to review, if you schedule the appointment and right before you let the patient go, you're going to review with them and say, "Okay, Steve, just a quick review. We've got you scheduled for your next appointment in 2 weeks with Dr. Jones for this procedure. So it'll be 2 weeks from today at 2 p.m. We'll have everything set up and prepared for you when you arrive. Will you be here?" So those are the 2 words. Will you? Will you be here? Just nice and friendly. But what I'm asking for is a commitment, a verbal commitment from the patient that they will be here. So you're probably not used to doing this. I'm going to challenge you to try it. Just to say, "Will you be here?" Just nice and friendly. "Will you be here?" I'm asking for a commitment. Here's what we know psychologically. We tend to honor more the things that we have committed to. So get a commitment, a verbal commitment. You can talk about it, which is great. I'm asking you to take one more step, is to say, "Will you be here?" There is psychological power in asking for a commitment and waiting for the patient to respond. We've got everything set and ready to go. This day, this time, we'll have everything set up and ready to go. Will you be here? So I'm going to challenge you to do this. Start asking for commitments. And "will you" are 2 of the most powerful words you can use. Start doing this at home. If you have kids, it's like, "Will you go take out the garbage right now before I kill you?" No, don't do that part. Start asking for a commitment. Quit making requests. Ask for a commitment and get a verbal response. Hack number 9. This is preventing the financial flu. We talked about this at the very beginning, right? The patients who get sick the day of the procedure, if there is a financial commitment due on the date of service. So the solution to this is simple. Separate payment from the date of service. So the bigger the procedure, the bigger the financial commitment, I want to separate that from the date of service. How do we do that? With signed financial arrangements that outline when payment will be collected. So with credit card processing payments like Rectangle Health does, you have the ability to store credit card numbers in a PCI compliant format, right, Derek? So it's all legal.
That's right.
Protects the patient information and payment information in an encrypted format. You can't even see the payment information, but you can actually program when those payments are collected, when their card is run. So based on how you do your financial arrangements, the bigger the financial commitment, separate the money from the date of service if you want to prevent the financial flu. Hack number 10. This is a specific one for my friends in dentistry. This is build in peace of mind protection. If you want your patients to come back and honor their commitments, especially in dentistry, then this is one of the things we have found to be very, very effective, which is everything that you do is covered with a peace of mind protection. In dentistry's case, that protection comes from dental warranty that provides nationwide protection on anything and everything that goes in the mouth, crowns, bridges, veneers, fillings, so that if anything goes wrong, they have a formal protection that's clear and in writing, and it will get repaired or replaced up to the full value of that original procedure for up to 6 years. Now, why does it work with cancellations and no-shows? Part of that warranty is to make sure that you stay on track with your regular continuing care. It works. So here's a resource from the team at Dental Warranty. This is the only program of its type that is nationwide. You can scan that QR code. They'll walk you through a demo of how that works and how you can use that to create more consistent, repeat, especially hygiene patients in dentistry. So one more tip. Okay, we've talked about prevention. Let's talk about first aid. In the heat of the moment, after everything you've done to set things up the right way, what do you do when a patient tries to cancel? So here would be a question. I don't think we have a formal poll for this, but just you can ask yourself this question. Which day of the week is the most dreaded cancellation day, not just in dentistry, but in healthcare in general? Sunday night, Monday morning, last day of the week. For some, it's every day. So I think you'd agree. That's right. So thank you, Aiden. Monday, right? Monday morning. Why? Because all weekend long, while you're off enjoying your weekend, your patients are calling your office, leaving you love messages when they know you're not there. Messages like this. Hey, this is Steve Anderson. Just calling to let you know I can't make it to my Monday morning appointment at 8 a.m. I've had something real important come up. So I'll let you know when I can come in. Thanks. And the message was left at midnight on Sunday when they knew you wouldn't be there. All right, so let's talk about Monday. What do you do to prevent this? There's a lot of different things you can do. There are today, with all kinds of AI after-hours assistance that you can use for this, whether you're using voicemail for after hours, whether you're using an answering service, whether you're using AI. Here's the solution, your after-hours message. Based on whoever's there. Thanks for calling. If you have an emergency, call 911. Okay, everybody does that. If you're calling after hours and like to reserve an appointment, okay, here's what you do. Whether it's, work with the AI agent or leave your number, whatever it is. If you have a conflict with your scheduled appointment, please call this number or please call during business hours, whatever it is. Our voicemail system is not monitored for scheduling changes. Thank you for calling. In other words, don't make it easy for patients to cancel. Now, another challenge in this area is text messages. We've gotten really good technology now where patients can text you. All right, with AI assistance now, You can program in when they say, when you see the word cancellation, here's the route things need to go. You need to call in other words, you need to have a protocol, whether you're doing this digitally, on the phone, or with AI. What is the path that they have to take if they're trying to change their scheduled appointment? Now, if they call during business hours to cancel their appointment, there are some words I'm going to ask you to remove from your vocabulary. These are two of them, because the patient will say, hey, I'm really sorry, but I can't come in. And then we say, oh, that's okay. It's not okay. So instead, you're going to respond, not react. You're going to respond with a simple oh. Then you would say to me, Steve, would you hold for just a moment while I get your records? Put them on hold, pull up their chart, see what they're scheduled for, why they're scheduled for it, get the whole context in your frame. Then I get back on and you'd say to me, you go, Steve, thanks for holding. I'm looking at your chart here. We have you reserved tomorrow at 8 a.m. with Dr. Jones for whatever the scheduled treatment is. Now, I know you said you wanted to have that done before your neck, whatever. In other words, you got to have, I know how important this is to you to stay on track. Again, this is about relationships. So you will have fewer cancellations and no-shows, the better relationship you have with your patients. If you're running a factory where you're just running patients through the practice and it's like a mill, then you're going to have to figure out how to up the relationship you have with your patients if you want better behavior, right? So you would finish this by saying, Steve, I know how important this appointment is to you. You're very important to us. How can we work together to keep this appointment as originally scheduled? How can we make this work? In other words, one more attempt, just friendly, but to say, how can we work together to make this work? Now, what that will do for a percentage of the patients, they may say, you know what, it's that big of a deal, I'll just come. I won't go to lunch with my girlfriends or whatever. But if it's a serious issue, then you would say, all right, Steve, let me see what I can do to find something that will work for both of us. And again, which day of the week and time do you have the most control over when you have the least likelihood of any kind of an interruption in your schedule so we can prevent this from happening again? These are the specific words I recommend using because we're in a nice, friendly way. We're communicating. We got to keep things on track. So those are some suggestions on how to handle it in the heat of the moment. Let's talk about frequent offenders. These are the ones that are continually canceling and moving. Sometimes they're scheduling challenged, sometimes they're just forgetful. But here's what my recommendation would be. After the third or fourth time, say, Steve, I need your help. There's those words again. For some reason, we haven't been able to make these appointments work like we need to. I just look back and we've rescheduled this 4 or 5 times. What would you suggest we do to get this back on track? Call it to their attention, ask for their input. Now, for frequent offenders, this is my suggestion. It goes along with your ASAP list. This is what I call your VIP list. I don't say that to the patients, but these are people who have a hectic schedule. They may be organizationally challenged. Maybe they have short-term memory problems, and they're people on a short call list that I could suggest, Steve, why don't we do this? When we have an appointment availability on short notice, may I text you to see if you are available to come in the same day or next day, right? So that would be, keep those, they can be great opportunities to backfill your schedule at the last minute if they're not ones that are great at planning long-term. Finally, those that call because they're sick, reappoint them right now. Go 2 weeks out so they have time to get well. But if they're well enough to call you to tell you they can't come in, go ahead and get them rescheduled so that you don't have to chase them down. So that requires, your T3 all the time, today, tomorrow, and 2 weeks out, right? So that's your challenge. Always have that in view so you can pivot and you can work with your patients on last minute basis. All right, so next steps. There's a lot here to share with your team. This is a whole team effort. Take it to the team. Choose the hack that you'll get started with today. Track your success. Celebrate your victories in saving appointments. And there's the hack sheet. So if you didn't happen to get this at the beginning of the webinar, you're welcome to scan that. This is just a resource from our team at Total Patient Service to give you a quick summary of all the different ideas, techniques, and systems that you can build into your system to have more predictable, more consistent schedule every day with fewer cancellations and no-shows.
All right, I'll stop there. I know we're at the top of the hour. There was about a minute and a half left. One thing Steve didn't get to was sharing a little bit about our resource partner that made that possible, which is Rectangle Health. If you go to crowncouncil.com, each of our resource partners have this landing page for themselves. This is Rectangle Health's. We encourage you to go to it. They've got their own Crown Council landing page, which would be a great place to book your 10-minute demo with them. So hopefully you learned a lot today from Steve. We're grateful for him, thankful to for all those tips and tricks to stop cancellations. We're 1 minute over here, so I'm going to end and say thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Grateful you could be with us today on Crown Council Live, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.